Markets just got hit with a surprisingly weak U.S. jobs report. Job creation is slowing down significantly, and revisions to previous months were even worse. But despite the headlines, the underlying setup for investors might actually be turning more favorable, and I'll explain why I'm staying optimistic, especially after seeing how well Q2 earnings performed. According to the latest report, the U.S. economy added just 73,000 jobs in July. That's a soft number. Even worse when you consider that economists were only expecting 100,000 to begin with. More concerning were the revisions. May and June job gains were slashed by a combined 258,000. June's original 147,000 figure is now just 14,000. May was cut down to 19,000. That's a clear signal the labor market is cooling faster than expected. The unemployment rate ticked up slightly to 4.2%. That's not alarming in itself, but paired with the slower hiring, it paints a picture of an economy easing off the throttle. Job growth is also becoming more concentrated. Healthcare added 55,000 jobs, and social assistance added 18,000, together making up about 94% of all new jobs. Outside of that, gains were minimal. Retail picked up 16,000 jobs. The financial sector added 15,000. But professional and business services actually lost 14,000, and federal government employment declined again, down 12,000. This tells us the job market isn't collapsing, but it's becoming more uneven and less robust, a sign that businesses are pulling back on expansion, possibly due to rising costs and economic uncertainty. Here's where it matters for markets. A weaker labor market puts less pressure on the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates elevated. And right now, rate policy is one of the biggest drivers of investor sentiment. The Fed meets again in September, and this kind of data makes a rate cut more likely. Lower interest rates mean lower borrowing costs, higher asset valuations, and more liquidity flowing into the market. That's typically bullish for equities, especially in growth sectors like tech. At the same time, geopolitical tensions are rising again. President Trump just signed a new executive order imposing reciprocal tariffs, with rates ranging from 10% all the way up to 41%. Countries like Canada, Brazil, and Switzerland are getting hit hard. Others, like Lesotho and the Falkland Islands, appear to have been spared. These tariffs introduce more uncertainty into the global economy, especially for exporters and multinational firms. But ironically, they also give the Fed more reason to act cautiously, reinforcing the case for rate cuts or a pause in tightening. Now, let's talk about the part of the market that actually surprised to the upside: Q2 corporate earnings. Big names across tech, finance, and industrials delivered results that beat expectations, both on the top and bottom lines. This tells us that despite macro headwinds, companies are still managing their margins well and executing effectively. Demand remains resilient in key sectors, and many firms are guiding higher into the second half of the year. Earnings matter more than headlines. Strong earnings create a foundation for the market, even if short-term data looks shaky. From my perspective, this is a market looking for a reason to move higher. A cooling labor market means potential rate cuts. Earnings have outperformed. Inflation is trending in the right direction. And while volatility might pick up in the short term, I see this setup as ultimately bullish. If we get a meaningful dip off any panic from jobs data or tariff headlines, I'll be looking to buy. I'm not chasing highs, but I'm not sitting on the sidelines either. If you're focused on long-term growth, this is the kind of environment where opportunity can emerge, not by ignoring risks, but by understanding them in context. Thanks for tuning in. If you want grounded breakdowns of macro trends, earnings, and real market opportunities, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll be covering every major move, so you're never reacting late.